know what it is. I think about the 1,500 people that Suncor is laying off. How many of those 1,500 people have the ability to build an innovation-driven venture? It's a big number, I think. But what is the pathway for them to do that? And how do we help that workforce that's transforming get on that pathway? Once you're committed, we've got a ton of programming that can get you through the valley of death, to help you iterate fast, to stop doing stuff that isn't going to work, and to double down on stuff that's going to work. And then once you get into scale, there's a whole other ecosystem that comes into play that really is about taking what you do global. So those are the three pathways. Founders have to go through it, investors have to go through it, and enterprise has to go through it. That builds the flywheel. All of it is built on a bedrock of culture and community. It doesn't work if we're siloed. It doesn't work if we don't share. It doesn't work if we don't tell the story to everyone. So that includes storytelling. We've got amazing heroes that are doing this stuff. They've been doing it for years. We need to raise their profile. I'll let Jen talk a bit more about this, but about a year ago, I would say maybe a bit more than that, we said, this organization is not going to do it on its own. It's actually about empowering a whole community. So we've gone out and targeted people that work with entrepreneurs, work with founders, work with investors, work with enterprise, and we've brought them into this community. Calgary UX is part of this amazing community that we're building. As of today, I think we're at 40 signed MOUs of people that are going to show up in the Platform Innovation Center. And Jen has a massive funnel of more that are going to come. And it's exciting. There's local, regional, national, international players going to be part of this. So I thought a little bit about, like, specifically to you, people who are working in the sector, who are maybe working in a startup yourself, but maybe you're just an individual. How can you get value out of this place that we're creating? The first thing is the Calgary UX is a hub itself. You have, I don't know how many members you have, Luis?
1,500 around.
How many?
1,500.
1,500 members, okay. So you're a hub. And so the Platform Innovation Center is built around being a hub of hubs. So now we've got Calgary UX intersecting with groups that work with youth, intersecting with groups that work with investors. You as individuals, you as individual innovators are going to be your own hub, but you're going to be next to hubs that are exploring artificial intelligence or exploring new ways to invest, etc. New skill sets. So far, I think we've signed 5 groups that are specifically about training people to prepare you to have the skill sets for the new economy. So this is going to be a place, again, so you're a part of Calgary UX, now you're coming down, you're taking a course, now you're running into, you happen to be taking your course, and there's a pitch competition going on in the cafe. All of this is happening, so now you've got your hub of hubs, and you're there learning something new through the partners that we've assembled. We're working hard to get enterprise that cares about this stuff. And they're not going to come in unless they actually want to be part of to advance themselves, to be innovators themselves. Arguably, it's a small subset in Calgary of our total corporate pool, but we believe we can expand that. So now what you being there as part of a hub of hubs, learning something, now all of a sudden you're there and say Suncor is there and they're participating in a program and you run into them and they're hiring. When I talked to a lead at booking.com in Amsterdam as part of our research about why they invested in Innovation Center in Amsterdam, he said, we did it because we want to be talking to the smartest people in Amsterdam. And we want access to that talent pool. So booking.com is sponsoring stuff there. And he said, I know it's working because Booking.com and former Booking.com employees are there starting a startup, and former startup employees are now working for Booking.com. That's what an ecosystem is. That's what we're trying to create through this work. And then finally, I hope I made the case, and I hope we made the case that our city needs to get on, expand on this path that I think it's on already. We need to double down on the role of tech and innovation and what we're going to be as a city. And It's not going to happen with a small group of 30 people at Platform Calgary and Startup Calgary. It's going to happen only if everyone that's on this call feels like they're part of this and wants to lean in to make that happen. This has to be a give first kind of culture. It has to be something where we believe that despite the challenges that often we see in our province, that it's worth it, that this is one of the best places in the world to live. And what can we do with that? We've got some of the most highly educated people. We've got people from all over the world who have chosen this place to build their life. What can we do with that? And so what we're offering is a way for you to be involved in something that hopefully can have those kinds of impacts. So my request is, let's meet this moment together. We are all part of this community. We are so pleased that Calgary UX is part of this community. And I'm looking forward to talking about what you, specifically with the training you have and experience you have, can bring to this amazing opportunity in front of us. And that is my spiel. And then normally after this, I ask people for money, just so you know. But I'd love to chat with my colleagues about some of this stuff as well.
Well, that's amazing. Let's meet the moment together. That's quite a fantastic phrase. Jen, Colton, anything that you would like to add? I think it's it says quite a lot of what the city needs, what everybody is thinking in the background, and it would be fantastic to hear from you if there's anything you can add from your perspective.
Sure, I'll jump in. Yeah, just to kind of tack on to Terry's presentation there. You're kind of a hard act to follow there, Terry.
All right, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, just speaking, off the cuff, but it's been really cool to see so many organizations really line up under the same vision. It's been pretty amazing to see. And also where I'm seeing it on the front line of talking to all these different organizations is where we're starting to make connections between organizations and then just get out of the way. This isn't about platform owning the stage here. It's really truly this very flat effort to just make connections where they make sense. So I'd say those are the two things that I've really noticed of this process, and it's pretty inspiring to be able to help to bring it together and formalize it.
How many organizations have you actually been in touch with about being part of the community?
I think about like 80 or 90. I've got kind of a HubSpot addiction, a healthy HubSpot addiction. But yeah, about 80.
It's a lot. And some super exciting ones that aren't just in Calgary. This is a new line for you guys that Colton and Jen that I've been using, is my 2021 thought is, how platformy can platform be? Like, how much can we just be the thing that people build on? If you work in platform development, one of the things that in software, one of the things is that what you're trying to design is something that other people can create value from. You're trying to design something where the majority of the value is captured by people that use what you put into the wild. And so if you're a designer on Shopify, more people make money using Shopify than Shopify makes. That's what we're looking for here. So you can use that.
Totally, thank you. Will.
Well, that's absolutely beautiful, and I have to say that, at least from the experience of being an organizer in a community, there is quite a lot of it's the moment that you hear, hey, we are a big organization, we are going to make something bigger, we want to help you, and we want to connect you with other groups. That's really a very motivating moment, and another part that I really I'm very excited to hear more and to experience that is the, let's say, the amazing building that you're putting together in the East Village, and also the plans for us to be part of the community that mingles there, collides and collisions with other organizations. So Can you expand a bit more on what's going to happen there and when we're going to, let's say, once COVID passes, when we're going to be able to be part of that?
When can I move in, Terry?
Well, I'm not. This isn't public, is it? We're looking at we're looking at two phases. COVID has been challenging building a building. Let's be clear, and raising money for a building. We were hoping that we would be opening the doors in April. It's more likely that we will open up phase one in July, a small, just the first floor, as really a soft opening for us to figure out what this thing is. And then the second floor, which is the majority of the square footage, will open by the end of November. That's the current unofficial, not public, do not tell anybody that plan because we're not committed to it publicly, but that's what we're looking at. You know, one of the things about what was going to go on in there, we kind of sketched out a few things. We've looked at 150 cities around the world and about 50 or 60 innovation centers. And one of the reasons why we're so excited about Calgary UX is that one of the most important factors that makes an innovation ecosystem grow faster is social networks. And when we looked at that, so purposely building connections between professionals seems soft, but we look at data that says that there's a massive correlation between a founder's social connectedness and the speed at which their company grows and how big it grows. You will this is age-old news. Truly, it's who you know. And if you have a dense network of connections, you will be able to solve your startup's problems. You'll be able to learn when it's working and not working faster. The other part of that is that the global connectivity and building global connectivity into your startup early also significantly influences how fast and how big your startup grows. That's all of the design that we've been putting into the program and those kinds of things is around, it goes back to that connectedness piece. And so we're saying things like we want to host over 50 professional networking groups in the organization. So we don't need to start Calgary UX, it exists. But in other places, there are, there's in Waterloo, there's a social network for executive assistants for tech companies. Like every position you can imagine, there's a purposeful network that brings them together so they can learn from each other. So we're going to do that. We're talking about 600 events a year in the space as kind of our starting point for what we want to do. So it's built right in. The other thing that, the most attractive thing about this building will be the people that are already there. People will attract people. Having a group like yours that has 1,500 members, making them feel at home is going to be attractive to other people. And it's going to be a flywheel that goes like that.
Wow. Well, what can I say? This is from the perspective of an organizer, one of the biggest challenges that sometimes we have is finding the space and finding collaborative spaces, so quite a lot of meetups, meeting bars, but let's say that's not a potential environment for quite a complex conversations, and also there are other factors that can distract people quite easily. So it's really great to be able to say, okay, we have a place where we all can meet and also accidentally meet somebody else. That's really, really, really meaningful. It's around the time we are going to open the conversation to the questions that are happening in the chat. So please, Lyubov, if you don't mind, could you share the top questions that are lingering over there?
Well, I don't have a lot of questions, so please ask questions in the chat so I can ask them. First question is to Colton. So I will just read this out loud. So how important is coding and programming to a UX designer? I've read online that at the very least, you should be able to communicate the design to the developers, which requires a basic understanding of coding. However, these sources were a year or two old. What does the job market look like from your perspective as the programming specialist at Startup Calgary?
perfect example of exactly why we changed my job title. But I actually think, Luis, you might be able to answer this one on my behalf. I endorse whatever Luis says.
Fantastic. Well, what can I say? Truth be told, there are two positions here, and I think not because I want to leave the conversation on hold, but also because around April we are planning a pure event where this topic is going to be expanded and visited from different places. I think it all depends on the role. It all depends on what you're bringing to the team, and also the understanding of what UX means inside an organization. So really, without giving a answer full of nothing, because it really seems like that's what it is. For one organization, they are going to ask you, hey, you have to know everything, and basically you are not going to do anything once you are working there. So it's a complicated topic that really deserves to be visited, and really thank you who asked that question. And if you need answers right away, please contact me. I'm really happy to follow up with you.
Another question for the panel. What and how a Calgarian pivot to the new world? In the beginning of the conversation, you were just talking about how the new world changed. So could you please just expand a bit more on how we can just pivot to this new style of living?
I have thoughts, but I'm interested if Jen and Colton have thoughts.
I was going to make a joke that was kind of alcohol related, but as far as the adaptation, yeah, I think I read that in the chat early on, and I was trying to figure out how to answer it. But I think being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and getting used to that feeling of uncertainty has certainly been what I've been doing in kind of the whole COVID context. I'm not sure if that's really the root of the question, but I think stepping out and putting yourself out there and trying something new is part of how you adapt. Is just you got to step off the curb and give it a try.
I think I feel like my like resourcing brain goes like, it's reskilling programs. There's stuff you can do to, like, if you're in oil and gas, in corporate oil and gas, like there's programs designed for you to transition your career to a tech career. Not that necessarily is what you have to do, but there's lots of stuff out there where you can reskill, and you're not going to be starting from scratch. You're an established professional with a network. So you're going to be able to find something easier than a typical fresh grad. But there's lots of stuff out there that's particularly with SAIT that helps you reskill, and through Calgary Economic Development as well. Yeah.
I agree with both of those things. I think there's two interesting things going on. One is, like, the world has shifted. So what is valuable now is different than what was valuable 6 months ago and a year ago. And it's like we're shifting right now, like lots of shifts. So business opportunities arise out of this shift. A quick example is, this is like very small, but we started a program called the Virtual Passport for Startups. And that came out of, when the pandemic first happened and we were all working from home, we would just jump on Zoom every morning and just talk about stuff. And one of the topics was like, okay, we planned to go to South by Southwest and show off Calgary startups at South by Southwest. We couldn't do that. And just chatting, like, well, everybody's on Zoom. What if we tour Texas through Zoom? And we go as a platform and curate an audience in Texas and introduce Calgary startups to that group. So the team just took off and ran with that. Next thing you know, we're hosting a 2-hour webinar, and we've assembled 15 like prominent people from Toronto, and we bring 20 Calgary startups, and we have a 2-hour session where they get to learn Toronto, they get some networking. We've been to Boston, we've been to Vancouver. I think they're going to London next. So that, like, the world has presented that opportunity to us. We grabbed it and went. Related to that then is being a startup founder in you? Is that something you have in you to turn what you do Maybe you're an indie, turn that indie thing into a business that can generate wealth for you and many other people over time. If that's in you, now is the time to try, because I think, A, we just told you how important we think it is to Calgary's future. But B, the tools are there. Iteration is so much easier. If I wasn't sort of so fully committed into this kind of life I've built for myself in organizations like this, I would be saying, like, let's start a business and give something a shot.
Wow,
Can I gripe
pretty powerful.
for a second, just based on South by Southwest? So my first day, like my first like 3 days of starting this job was supposed to be going to South by Southwest, and then I got canceled. And this is like, it broke my heart. It really did. Like, it was so exciting to like, oh, I'm going to like this new job in Calgary. I'm going to be working at Startup Calgary. The first thing I'm doing is going to South by Southwest. And then it didn't happen. That's all. That's just, I just wanted to complain publicly for a moment about it.
Well, that's really meaningful. I think one of the topics that sometimes we don't talk too much about in the startup, let's say in the UX communities, about being part of an early startup or being a founding member of a startup. I think there are many skills that design-driven thinking can really provide the tools for a successful business. And sometimes I get to hear stories of, hey, I applied 100 times to get a job and finally got one after 1 year. It's like, maybe there are different routes that you could have taken. It doesn't mean that you should be passionate about a particular product, but at the same time, if you are going to do something in 1 year, maybe there are opportunities there.
Well, like I'll say, Jen and Colton are part of a team of about 8, 7. Well, I don't know. The numbers are fluctuating a bit, but say 8 people who are full-time to help people who are getting off the ground and then just dipping their toe in. Colton runs a seminar, a workshop, once a week we're running one, but like they're monthly about just like, how does this work? And then one of our guiding principles is build community. So we want to leave a ripple effect of a supportive community behind everything that we do. So you will come in and you'll meet other people that'll be part of it. Maybe your startup co-founder is in that group.
We joke too about platform at Calgary is kind of like Hotel California. So once you come in, we track you. We never let you go. So if you do programming or you do it, you can book a meeting with an advisor, and we just keep in touch. We love to try to nurture this community of whether you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, or you're just looking for a job. We've got your back.
Yeah, I just got a DM question about, and we've heard this before. So Murray was mentoring people who were trying to make a shift out of oil and gas. And most of the people just wanted to get back into oil and gas. And through whatever they were doing with their career development, it was just kind of like, okay, well, how can I reposition back into oil and gas? It's very lucrative and it's very attractive to continue in it. And so how do we break that cycle? I think, to me, one of the issues is like the the pay in that sector is hard to turn down. So that's always, for certain people, that's going to be a thing. But I think that people actually just don't know that they have what it takes. And so somehow we've got to get early into people's brains that the entrepreneurial venture is something that they might be able to pull off and that there's resources there. So that's on us. That's one of the reasons why we decided to make a building that's fairly prominent, that it stands out, so that you can tell all your friends who might, say something to you about this, that say, I'm thinking about doing a startup. Just go to that building, walk in, and someone's going to get you on the path. That's a really important feature of what we have here. So that's the hope. That's what we hope will happen.
Thank you so much. I have a question about like being involved is a startup, if somebody is small and have an idea. So how is it possible for one just to get involved in a program at Platform Calgary or Startup Calgary? Where to start? Is there information on the website or something like this? Could you please share?
Sure. Yeah, we have, there's quite our website is a bit of a tricky thing to navigate at times, but there's a ton of information on there under the programs tab.
Does anyone know anyone?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so, but we have, you can book a one-on-one, like just book in and it'll automatically pick someone off of the advisory team and you can have a chat. We've got Startup Essentials and Customer 101 and Customer 201, which are light kind of one-off sessions. And then we have 4-week Discover, which is kind of if you have an idea and you're trying to maybe get out and put it in front of some customers and get some validation. And then we have a full 9-week program as well called Junction, among other things, but that's kind of so we do have ranges for whether you've got a little bit of time or a lot of time. Hopefully we can accommodate. And then our partners as well offer multiple programming options as well.
Yeah, just Jen killed it. That's exactly what I was going to say too. So Startup Essentials is typically where I send people first, depending on like what their needs are and whatever. But it's a good like intro to the ecosystem. It's a good like intro to some of the fundamentals that you're going to be applying in later workshops. And in addition to like the booking time with Platform Advisor, you can just, you can reach out on LinkedIn or whatever. And our advisors are pretty responsive. And I think take a lot of meetings outside of that intake form, like, and myself included. So I do office hours as well, which like typically I set up 2 hours a week or so that people can just like freely book in, no questions asked. They'll sometimes fill up really fast. So you can, send me a message on LinkedIn and I can be more prescriptive and help you find some programs and stuff. But that's that's what I do with people every day. So if you want to do that, you can book time.
And then there's things like Startup Weekend, which I think is a really cool intensive if you want to give it a shot. Like I really like that concept. We're looking at, and there's really interesting, I think Jen's had a conversation with Entrepreneur First. Like there's really interesting programs out there that are where I think we need to go, that are taking people pre-company and really working them through the process. Harvest Ventures in Calgary would be a venture builder that if you've got what it takes, they kind of give you the scaffolding around and right there, and you can start working on building the company with them.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this. I also have a question from Jason. So he's wondering if anyone here is familiar with the online UX design certificate offered through continuing education at York University. And if so, what you think about this? Thank you.
I'm thinking that's coming from the crowd.
Yeah, that's going to be a Luis plus Calgary UX answer more than us.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to say that I also have a bunch of questions that are along that line, so we can save it for the, let's say, social time, and if there are more questions for the participants, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, I have another similar question, so we can leave it to the communication time. So yeah, that's it from me.
All right. Well, I think we are around. Yeah, it's 8 p.m. I don't want to take too much of your time too, but also you are welcome to stay a little bit longer and being part of the social time. And what can I say? Thank you so much for coming in, for sharing the message. As I said before, I think the clarity and the energy that you share with us couldn't be transmitted in the same way as I could barely do. So thank you so much for coming over. I really think that this is not going to be the first time that we we as community get in touch with you. And also one of the things that I will do a bit as a follow-up is maybe ask you for some of the best ways to reach you. Colton already shared that LinkedIn is a good way. And if you don't mind, it would be really great to know what would be the best way to get in touch with you. and knowing more about this hub of hubs initiative. That once again, this is at least on the Calgary community, we are together, we are involved, and the plan is to be active on this initiative. So most likely you are going to hear bits and pieces all the time, pretty much in every single event. But if you don't mind, also that would be it would be really great to have a bit of a place where we all get to hear more information. Also, thank you very much, everybody that joined today. And as I said before, you make the community. I think this is a really great and vibrant group of people, and I couldn't be more honored to have you with us. And the invitation goes again. Like February is going to be a fantastic month. We have the next event already planned, and it's going to be around the ethical smart cities. And we have a group of designers and research that are coming here, and they're trying to achieve something that seems to be really complicated. How do we take the design skills and design methodologies that we already have into something more complicated that can be a city? The next part is we are happy to let you know that we are collaborating with the Calgary, the Edmonton UX group. And at the end of the month of February, we are going to put together a longer event that is going to be part of the World Information Architecture Day. And we are working on getting the speakers. So if somebody is interested, you're welcome to propose some ideas. We're trying to fill 6 spots, and already we have, let's say, 4. So we might not be able to include everybody, but it would be really great to expose the rest of the world with the fantastic talent that we have already in the city. Please don't think that Calgary UX is a meetup. It's a community, so we have multiple touch points and opportunities to collaborate. One, of course, is our Slack channel, and let's say, obviously, for some of us, this is a really great place to share ideas and conversations. We have Meetup. Obviously, you're already here, so I guess you already know where to find it. Twitter and LinkedIn, which is obviously a kind of like a particular set of place for different conversations, but at the same time, we try to be active there too. And as always, we are always trying to find the next big thing for you. So if you haven't completed the community survey for 2021, please do so. We would love to hear about you. Right now, we are a bit far behind from what we were expecting, and at least we want to reach the goals for this year. And as I mentioned before, if we hear just for a very small percentage of people, basically we are most likely going to make decisions based on that information. And some of you that haven't shared your ideas most likely are not going to be included or feel included. And that could be very, very sad. And what can I say? For all the people that are ready to go home or ready to go home, ready to go to bed, you're already at home, hopefully. Please stay safe. Let's say I don't like bring up the news, but at the same time, it's really relevant what's going on. So please take care. Practice the best measures that you can think of. And just as a small hint, February is going to be a month about curiosity. So without giving away too much of what's going to be, we have quite a lot of cool things also prepared, So be ready. Keep your eyes open, and most likely you're going to hear a couple of good news too. So thank you, Terry, Jen, Colton. You're wonderful. I really think of you as visionaries. So, wow, we're happy to have you in this city.
Thanks for being one of our partners. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity to speak to you all. Anyone that wants to contact me personally, just reach out on LinkedIn, but just put like a note of Calgary UX or something, so I know where you came from. But I'd love to hear where you guys think, anyone thinks there's gaps or things that you want to put forward. Send me a note.
Beware! I already had 9 people add me on LinkedIn since I posted. Good for you guys. I think that's the fastest I've ever had that happen, for the record.
I like to keep my contact information as a skill testing, so I'm sure you can find me. I don't talk to people who can't find me online.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you so much. Now the time for everybody to join into a much of a social informal conversation is up, So hey, if you don't mind turning on your camera, it will be also amazing to see your faces. Say hello. You can unmute yourself. We're happy to hear your voices.
I just wanted to say thank you for answering these questions and for this amazing presentation that was very interesting and insightful for me as well. So yeah, so maybe I just can share a couple of questions for this community. So somebody who knows the answer can just share their answer. So about coming back to the question of Jason about continuing education at the York University, if somebody knows about this a little bit more, please share. And another question is about the relationship and differences between innovation, UX design, lean startup, and agile development. Are they completely separate or do they complement each other? So if somebody wants to share their opinions, please do that.
Okay. Innovation, agile, lean startup, and what was the last one?
So yeah, innovation, UX design, lean startup, and agile development.
Okay. That's a big one. Well, I mean, we practice a lot of lean startup, methodology in our programming for sure. But I would say that, they're all fairly interrelated, and kind of there's some overlaps in there. But lean startup is really about kind of testing out a business model idea to see if it sticks. And as the concept of a startup is really a hypothesis that you're continually testing until you get something that works. I can't speak directly to UX other than knowing how important it is. Especially now with the democratization of design so much, where everything starts to look the same from a design perspective or from a graphic perspective, with so much so many assets and everything accessible and templates and everything, that I think that the user experience in the interaction portion is way more important perhaps than it used to be. But that's just me talking. But
not that I have particularly good insights, but I would say, like, generally speaking, it's all customer focused or user focused in general. So like all of our methodology is focused on what the customer wants and the problems customers have and how we can solve those better. So I feel like that's like kind of the overarching theme is how do people interact with it and what problems do they have and how can you actually solve those in an effective manner.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, let's say one of the things that I normally say when you have different, let's say, points of view or methodologies is everything is about the culture, So if you have, let's say, if you follow Agile to the dot, but you don't have the right culture, most likely nothing is going to happen, or everybody will have a really good excuse for postponing, let's say, having the users' needs first. So let's say if we dig deeper, I think if we build a culture around thinking about the user and empathizing to their needs, I think the rest of the pieces come together. So for everything that we mentioned, they have their time, their place, their rules, their particular guidance. but really people are the ones that make it work. And also, yeah, let's say for the, at least the question that there was about continuous education, really quite a lot of what's going on, at least in my world, is that I have to constantly study, like that's something that happens every week. And at the end of the day, that's something that it's a topic that I enjoy. Pretty much everything is connected to UX, so I love learning more. But I don't think there is going to be one particular course or one particular career or one particular route that is going to take you exactly to a safe zone to say, hey, this is UX, because it's also moving. Right now we're heading to our other technologies, we're heading to other solutions. The evolution of the devices and the experiences changes. So we always are like, okay, there is now a different way to solve the same problem that we had 20 years ago, but now somehow it's much better. Let's learn all about it, And it comes with the territory, there is going to be some professionals that might not enjoy doing that all the time. But at the end of the day, it depends on a personal opinion, right? Like where learning fits in your schedule. What about the rest? How everybody's doing? We have many new faces. I can see, let's say, Giselle. Hi, I haven't seen you before. Hi, on. Hi, Scott. Hey, everybody's leaving now. It's like, hey, I'm not going to. That's so funny. Hello, PJ. Yeah. Hello, Victorio. Hello, Colleen. Yeah, there are many people I haven't met. That's fantastic. Hello, Alan. Alan and I, we used to work together. So,
hey, Louis.
Hey,
good to see you.
Hey.
We should catch up for sure.
Man, absolutely. Absolutely.
Since this is the social aspect, I might as well introduce myself. My name is Paul. I'm a senior UX designer at a local company called AppDirect. And I noticed that Kevin Franco is somebody that you guys work with. And Kevin is someone that I worked with at a startup called InThrill before I started working at AppDirect. So I'm a little familiar with the startup scene. Kevin and I have worked together for probably about 3.5 years trying to get that one to completion. Obviously it wasn't successful, but the experience was pretty interesting. So I'm very much interested in seeing the evolution of Platform Calgary, because at the time when we were in that startup, it was very difficult to find resources like this. There were different things in Calgary, but there wasn't one place where you could go and talk to people and get advice. You had to actively seek that out. It was very difficult. We've definitely seen an evolution over the last couple of years in Calgary. It's truly becoming a tech hub, and organizations like this, I truly believe, are going to help accelerate that. So it's super excited to see that. If I could throw one question to the group, that would be, so I wanted to know how you were funded, and I did get that answer from Terry. Thank you very much. I imagine too, you're probably looking for, folks to volunteer. Just like on the Calgary UX, everyone volunteers their time to do different things. It's something that I'm certainly hoping to do more of this year, especially when we can rid ourselves of this horrible COVID. But maybe you could speak to a little bit more about that, about how people can volunteer their time or get more involved in sharing what they know and their experiences with Platform Calgary.
For sure. Yeah, Colton, do you want to speak to that first, or? Sure.
Yeah, and then maybe you could talk about like the junction / like Discover volunteer base. But so Startup Calgary, we have like a community of volunteers that at the moment are not super well utilized, but we actually had a chat today with the wider platform advisory team about ways for volunteers to get involved, and so we're kind of brainstorming a few ideas, and none of this is like rock solid or anything like that, but we're looking at having event volunteers, having people that just want to like support events, go to events, If you want to just like be a social lubricant when you're at an event and meet people, that's one way to get involved. We could have mentors, we could have community advisors, people that want to work on programs, people that want to like, shadow and sit in on stuff like Startup Essentials. We're eventually probably going to be looking for people to facilitate some early phase workshops for us with some training and stuff. And then, for larger events like Launch Party, we're looking for volunteers. So for us, it's like event support, some advising, some connecting with entrepreneurs. And then maybe Jen, you could talk about like Junction volunteers.
Yeah, sure. Just kind of what Colton just said, we don't really have a great portal for, funneling people in, but there are multiple ways to get involved. And with Junction, we have community advisors that can come in and donate a certain amount of hours per week with early stage companies that are in the cohort. And we have a kind of a master list of just advisors that here's my name, here's my expertise, keep me on a list. So it is definitely in the works. And especially as we activate and open the Innovation Center, we're going to want to have a whole whack of people on the ground as we open. And just to your point, Kevin Franco is a great friend of mine and a longtime colleague in my startup, which I founded in 2015 or co-founded. There was like nothing. It was so hard to find resources and support in tech. And he was actually my advisor, which I found just by chance. The CTI or whatever used to have a program where you could pay, I don't know, $1,500 and get 50 hours of an advisor's time. And so he was my advisor. So I'll pass along a hello anyways, because he's an integral part of our team and has really been the architect behind our Junction program. But great to hear that connection there.
And if you specifically want to volunteer for Junction, Kevin would be the guy to talk to. So maybe you have an in, who knows?
Yeah, I haven't chatted with Kevin in a while, but it's probably time for me to reconnect.
I feel like Franco's the type of guy that you just reach out to and he's happy to chat.
Oh yeah, Kevin's awesome. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, folks. I got to drop off. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, great to meet you.
Cool.
Thank you for coming. And have a very good night.
Colton, your term there, social lubricant. What's that mean?
Oh,
Drinking?
God. No. Well, yes, that too. No, when I lived in Edmonton, there was